compound, and your last type of compound is called an acid. This is actually going to be broken up into 2 different videos because I'm a little worried it's going to get kind of lengthy because I have a little bit of things to go through before we actually get to the naming part and just what is an acid and what is happening there. So your first type of compound was an ionic compound. Ionic compounds have a metal and a nonmetal. They swap and drop because they're trading around electrons. Second type of compound was called a covalent compound. They were sharing electrons, and that was only between nonmetals. Now this last category of nomenclature for our class, for your acids, mean that you have hydrogen ions present. Whole definition of an acid. What you're going to physically see is you're going to have hydrogen in the first spot. So when you're looking at your nomenclature, in the next video, you're actually going to see everything all mixed up. Not your next one, probably a couple down the road. But you're going to see everything all mixed up. And if you see a metal in the first spot, that means that you're going to have an ionic compound. If you have a nonmetal in the first spot, that means you have a covalent compound. When you see hydrogen here, that means that you have an acid. And with your acid compounds, you swap and drop these because you actually have a transfer of electrons from one to the other. So even though hydrogen is a nonmetal, it's kind of that weird element. Remember, it can act like a metal, it can act like a nonmetal because it can have a positive charge, it can have a negative charge, it can have no charge and share electrons. This is a case that it has a positive charge. So you would write this as H plus 1. So with your acids, you're going to name them based off of what is the anion. That hydrogen means that it's an acid. The anion, the second component of it, is going to end with one of 3 things. All of your anions end in ide, IDE, ate, ATE, or ite, ITE. We're going to focus in on the IDE elements on this one, or components on this one, and then ate and ite on the other video that you're going to watch today. So we have ide, IDE, which are primarily the elements on the periodic table. Because remember, in a compound, if you have bromine, it becomes bromide. Sulfur is sulfide, chlorine is chloride, nitrogen is nitride. Now there are 2 polyatomic ions that end in IDE, hydroxide, OH -1, and cyanide, CN -1. So you do have those 2 that end in IDE, and these will follow these same rules. So you have hydrogen paired up with an anion that we would name with IDE. So with your IDE acids, in order to name them, they're going to start with hydro. Now hydro does not mean hydrogen. Hydro means water. So water actually has to be present for these things to break apart. So we have to write down hydro, and then you would have like chloride on this one down here. Instead of putting chloride, you would take away the IDE and you put ic. So you would have hydro, the root, and then ic. So the easier way to explain that is put hydro at the beginning, chloride is chloric, and then you write the word acid. So there are a few weird elements with these. As long as you follow the rules that I just talked about, hydroic acid, I will not count you wrong. However, I will write them correctly. They leave in the R's in these 2 and then the N in this one to make it flow a little bit better. So with these, like phosphorus, OUS would go away, and normally you would put IDE. Well, they put the OR in there, so it would be hydrophosphoric. If you write hydrophosphic, I'm not going to count you wrong. I need you to know that this hydrophosphoric is actually, like I said, if you put hydrophosphic, I'm okay with that, but I will write it correctly. Sulfur is hydrosulfuric, and then carbon is hydrocarbonic. Again, it's just so it flows a little bit better. I just wanted to point that out just so that way you knew when I put down hydrosulfuric what the heck I'm doing. So I've got some examples here, and again I'm going to jump to my document camera and we're just going to run through those real quick. In all of them you have hydrogen first because they are all acids. So this is hydrogen paired up with selenium, and this is hydrogen paired up with phosphorus. The H just means acid. That's all that means. Se, selenium, in a compound would be selenide. So because this is IDE, we're going to put hydro. Instead of IDE, I'm going to put selenic. And then it's acid. So this one is called hydroselenic acid. The next one, again, hydrogen means that it's an acid. Phosphorus is phosphide. Again, if you just follow the rules and you put ic, you would have hydrophosphic acid. Again, I'm going to write it correctly, but it's actually hydrophosphoric acid. Now in these, again, you have hydro. That hydro does not mean hydrogen. Hydro means that it's an acid, or an IDE acid. Sorry, I missed that IDE part. So hydro, I'm going to kind of ignore. Hydro just means that this is IDE. Acid means that you have hydrogen ions present. So hydrogen has a +1 because it lives in group 1. Nitride is N. When we go to our periodic table, nitrogen on the periodic table has a -3 charge. So I'm going to put N -3. So when I go to swap and drop here, the 1 and the 3 travel to be H3N. The next one, hydro, again means IDE. Acid means that hydrogen ions are present. So we have hydrogen paired up with bromide. Bromide is bromine with a -1 charge. So here we have HBr. On this last one, hydro means that it's ide. So this is cyanide. Acid means the hydrogen ions are present. Cyanide is not an anion here. Cyanide is actually a polyatomic ion. Cyanide is one of the two that ended IDE. So cyanide and hydroxide are the two that ended IDE. So cyanide is Cn -1. So I'm going to take hydrogen and pair it up with Cn -1. So when I swap and drop here, you have HCN. So we're going to do another video with the other type of acid, but for right now, if you have your hydrogen ions, that means that you're going to use these rules. IDE is your hydroic acid. Again, we have 2 more rules that we're going to look at in your next video. For today's assignment, you will need to go ahead and watch that video because all of your acids are all mixed up together. So you'll need to watch this video and your polyatomic ions, which is called 8 and 8 acids, in order to do the assignment today. If you guys have questions, ask. I'm always available through email. Thanks.